Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions 7 days a week. Cindy, you're our reader today. Let's get into the first one.
Our first one today is from Peter Moore in Auckland, New Zealand. Rockin 1000 will be performing live in Portugal in September 2025. 1,000 musicians. What would be the main issues, logistics, and other that you think they would have to deal with a link?
Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, they're playing in a stadium and they have 1,000 musicians. I think they have 100 drummers, and getting one drummer to play on time is difficult enough. Getting 100 of them to play together. Apparently, they all have headphones on, and here's a logistics problem. You've got to deliver a zero latency sound to all over the ear headphones for all these drummers and all the musicians that are there. So that's kind of problematic, to get them to play all at the same time and not hear the acoustical delay from all the other musicians that may be 100 feet away, because the speed of sound is a lot slower than the speed of electricity, which is delivering the sound to their headphones. So they all have to be listening on headphones to stay with each other. Now, for the audience, doesn't have that advantage unless they provided 1,000 pair, 20, 30,000 pairs of headphones for the audience as well. So they're hearing the music produced live, delayed through the air. So I imagine in the stadium, it's quite a cacophony. Recording, if they had microphones spread around amongst all the musicians, that's another huge undertaking. Just driving, 1,000 pairs of headphones is quite a feat. And how it sounds, it sounds probably better recorded. They played in the sample, they're playing Bittersweet Symphony, which is like 5 notes repeated over and over and over again. So that's pretty easy, much easier to stay together on.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, and they're adding more than just guitar, bass, drums, keyboards. They're adding strings to this. It's a symphony. So it's going to be interesting, but most likely what's going to happen is, especially like with the drummers, is they're going to only be focusing on specific drummers, and that's what you're going to hear on the recording. You're not going to hear that cacophony that Courtney was talking about. And I've been in drum lines that did it. So a lot of snare drummers, they'd have the snares on, but then there's certain snare drummers that would have the snares off and slightly muted. So you couldn't hear it past like 3 feet. Cymbals will be the problem off of that. But if you've ever been to NAMM and you walk through NAMM, you see this happening. You walk in, all of a sudden you hear all the drummers, and then you start walking away, and then you start hearing all the bass players. And it's pretty much a very similar situation, except they have certain partition walls through there. But if you keep them grouped together, then that sound stays there. And as everybody has headphones on, there's got to be a click going through there. And of course, timing that click because everybody needs to have that click at the exact same time. Then it works from there. But yeah, you're going to only hear certain specific drummers that are designated to be the timekeepers, and bass players that know the part, and guitar players and strings that know the part.
I think they're going to have a tough time. They're going to have to restrict riders, because otherwise, that's a lot of M&Ms to sort. I don't think. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, I think every single type of event comes with their own unique requirements in terms of logistics. Some large events require shipping race cars around and building pit stops. Some other types of events, like say, inaugurations, have a higher emphasis and need for security. An event like this has a higher than normal need in terms of sound, capturing all of these musicians, as well as what Courtney mentioned earlier, all the monitoring that's needed. So I don't really see it as anything that's out of this world in terms of the requirements. It's just the emphasis here is the number of the musicians. Wiring all of these up, 1,000 musicians, it's not a huge deal given the correct amount of resources allocated to that department. So if you need to capture 1,000 musicians, then the audio department requires a lot more budget in terms of time, money, and personnel. So that's not really a huge deal, again, given that resources are allocated.
Next question.
Here's Roland Booth in St. Andrew asking, some weeks ago, the OmniStream service was mentioned. Have you had a chance to review?
Alexander?
I have not, and I just took a look at this, and let's have a look. Pull it up here. This looks like an incredibly compelling solution. So what it seems to be is a live streaming app, and they looks like they put quite a bit of work into it. And if I'm understanding this correctly, it's a subscription service, and basically they've got a so the app allows you to bond both Wi-Fi and LTE cellular, which is really cool. And you can see in the photo here, they've got a DSLR camera, and they've got the app mounted here. And it looks like, if I'm understanding this correctly, you can get over USB, a video stream into the phone, which is interesting because I didn't know you could actually do this. They've also built a custom live streaming player that you can embed on your website, and they have a graphics application as well, so you can add graphics, lower thirds, that kind of stuff. And I haven't really spent much time into it, but I'd love to test this thing. As far as pricing is concerned, it looks extremely affordable, starting at $12 a month. So you get the cellular Wi-Fi bonding feature, and what else do you get? Remote control management. There's another plan that offers some SRT functionality as well. So I am definitely going to test this out. I don't know anyone that's actively using this right now, but it looks really cool.
Courtney?
Well, I haven't looked at it or used. I mean, I looked at it, but just now I scrolled through, did all the same things that Alexander did there. But one thing I did notice is 425 people have reviewed it, and it has more 1-star reviews than 5-star reviews. So bear that in mind when you're trying it. It may have a lot of, it's just been issued, so I think it may have a lot of growing pains going on here. And so they probably have a lot of problems. I'd have to read a lot of those 1-star reviews, which there are more of than the 5-star reviews.
I think the other thing that I would look at here in trying to understand their business model or how they're affording to do it for, as Alexander pointed out, pretty affordable prices. For $250 a year to go out and say, I'm going to stream a few hundred hours a month of video seems like one of those things where the value is too great and there's a trade-off somewhere. If the influencer plan says 120 hours a month, it was $12 a month, and then in the corporate plan they say unlimited streaming hours. They don't tell you how many the videographer plan gets. So my questions are, with any business or with any service that I'm going to start to utilize, especially one that I'm bringing in to be infrastructure for my brand. Like if I'm offering a streaming services to someone, or event streaming or what have you, and I'm taking a piece of someone else's product and bringing it in and making it part of their infrastructure, I need that sucker to be rock solid. I need it to be incredibly reliable. And when I take a look at any corporation or any business that I'm looking to bring into that position, I'm thinking to myself, how do they make money? Is this sustainable in the long term? And if the answer is no, or I don't know, or I can't figure out exactly how all those pieces are going together, I'm definitely thinking twice. Next question.
Jeff Cohen in Miami Beach, Florida, and on today's panel, Metallica gear. What's the small black cylinder attached to their mic stands? Counterweight, cup of tea, bucket of picks?
Alexander?
Yeah, so it looks like that it's just like a thermos, I'm sure. I don't know what James has got in there. I imagine it's probably water, but more importantly, what is it attached to? So it's probably, most people that I know that use drink holders use this particular K&M part number, 16022. Don't you just love German part numbers? That is a fantastic, well-built drink holder. I think this is the newer model. They made some changes over the previous one. It's made out of plastic, but like all K&M stuff, they're made pretty well, and that's what I use for holding my water jug or coffee cup or whatever I'm going to put in there. It's a pretty good size, and it will adjust to fit.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that takes a job away from a roadie then, if that's all it is. Boring, although I guess we can wonder what's in the mug, if that's in fact what it is. So, okay, never seen it before. Good to know.
Mickey?
Yeah, I agree. It's just an insulated tumbler. It's a little hard to see, but it looks like there's a little Yeti branding on it. So just looking through the Yeti
Oh,
website,
that's a good
it looks like
clue.
it is this 26-ounce water bottle, the Rambler, as Yeti calls it, along with its replacement bottle cap. That way you don't have to deal with this handle that's on top of it. And the holder might be this Yeti beverage holder because you do see the Yeti branding on the holder itself.
I do enjoy something that's going to keep my drinks hot for a very long time. Thank you. I always thought that there was an opportunity for collaboration between Yeti and the Rolling Stones because of that product, because then they could do like a talking about the Yeti Rambler. But my favorite section when I go into a Guitar Center or a Sam Ash or one of these stores is to go over to like the funky accessories that you can get to put things onto mic stands. It's like you can have your phone here and your iPad here and a drink over there, and before you know it, you need to have a much wider mic stand because you've put so much extra weight on there. But when you're gigging, I mean, it's all those little creature comforts that can, even though it seems it's crazy, I'm going to spend $20 or $30 on this little tiny clip. When you're able to set up faster and look a lot cleaner, your performance starts to, it's going to sound crazy, it's going to start to sound better when people feel a certain way about you. And so, if you're comfortable, let's party. Jeff?
What's funny, trying to find the answer to this, because I was curious for a moment over the weekend, and there was a serious question where someone was asking, what are all those fins along the mic stand? Referring, of course, to the picks. And it turned out to be a serious question. The person did not know, and of course, leave it to Reddit, especially to have a variety of answers. Most people were nice enough to tell the person it was picks, but people tried to convince them it was like, keys to like a trumpet or something like that. And now, maybe someone knows, of course, usually it's tape, but someone said there's an actual device that you can mount that holds the picks as opposed to tape. It looks like Jeffrey's nodding yes, so I didn't know that was a thing.
There's a plastic strip you just basically clip on there, and then the picks just hold in there. But gaff tape is another way to do it.
Tape works.
Your questions and votes drive the show, so remember, use Makana to not only vote on questions, chat about the questions, but also ask the questions. So if you don't have access, just go to officehours.global/join, sign up there, and you'll get an email on how to get into the question system, how to get into Discord, all that good stuff. Next question.
Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas is up next. Do you have any ideas on how you could integrate the new line of DIY Stream Deck modules into an OEM product? It seems to be designed for integrators and resellers.
Jeffrey?
Oh, yeah, there's millions of ways that you can integrate the Stream Deck. And this is actually a great idea by Elgato because in the last year, I think that they lost some sort of patent wars, is my guess, because all of a sudden you started seeing these other versions of Stream Decks, other companies putting out their versions. And, like YOLOBox has the YOLOBox deck, and then Denistron came out with their versions. I don't know if they came before or after Elgato, but the whole point is I don't know how much of a patentable technology they have. So if you go and you then push it out, because these are free to use type licenses that they can use. So you can put it in anything and you're not going to have to pay royalties to a certain point. I'd have to read all the text on there, what you'd have to do. But then you could put it in anything. Like they show on the page that it's in a PTZ joystick with 2 Stream Decks from there. So on the video world, it's going to be a great use from there. But going beyond that, I could see, especially with the PoE adapter and everything like that, I could see this getting used in the corporate world. Like, for instance, let's say you go to a meeting room and you see the pad on there, and that pad says, this room is booked at 11 o'clock today. Do you want another time? You hit a button, and then you can choose the time, and then, of course, you've booked your your time off of there. And that's a example of that. You could also, I don't know if you could use it as like a combination safe to get into doors or anything like that, but it's really the imagination. The uses are just whatever you can think of, because it has such an open-ended system in the back. So you could develop anything that has electronic connection to it that you can use it for.
Courtney?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I looked at it. It looks interesting. They've basically taken the 15 pad Stream Deck and removed the branding from the top of it. So it makes it a little more compact, and it's, got these mounting slots that you can mount it into something flush mounted into a console or into a wall as a control panel for, let's say, home, for your Internet of Things home control. However, you would have to arrange to have signaling, USB signaling back to a PC somewhere. I'm not sure how it connects via signaling. It's got to have power somehow, and what the power requirements are for it and signaling. So you would have to, if you're using it for putting panels indoors like Jeffrey was suggesting, you're going to have to provide a power supply and a method of getting the signaling back to a computer somehow.
Well, it's USB-C, so I would imagine that network adapter that they came out with would allow it to go over PoE.
Perhaps. I was going to say one other thing before I give up. I would have designed it so there's equal space in the bezel around the keys. So if you put it together in an array, you don't have an uneven space between this one and the next one, because the top is larger than the bottom bezel difference. So I would have centered those keys. Maybe there's an electronic reason, because the way the boards have to connect or something, that they couldn't make the bezels equilateral. But that's what I would do if I read.
I wonder if you put two next to one another, if that side bezel is half the diameter of the top and bottom bezel. So maybe in a row it is even, but in a stack it's not. Go ahead, Mickey.
Yeah, people have been rehousing stream decks for quite a while now. 3D printing or even laser cutting their own enclosures to house stream decks in a specific way for their own use case. I think the advantage with the module is that it's really designed specifically for integrators, and the unit itself is much more compact electronically compared to the commercial stream decks. So your housings that you create can be a lot more compact. For me, though, what's really more exciting is they're releasing Elgato is releasing more detailed documentation on for developing specifically for the Stream Deck. People, it would be a lot easier for people to develop software that integrates and that is controlled with Stream Decks without having to create a plugin and run the Stream Deck plugin or companion. People can more easily now make custom software to talk directly to the Stream Deck.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, and to double back on the power and the PoE, usually a lot of businesses had PoE cabling run when they had their security systems. They probably still have security cameras on PoE, so it's just basically a cable drop. But you can also put a Raspberry Pi behind this unit, and any PCB that runs Linux will be able to run some of the software for Stream Deck and Companion, for that matter, or any of the other softwares that are coming out. So being able to set something up that becomes a very big powerhouse just in a small area it's like I said, the uses are limitless right now.
And I've got to compliment Corsair. I think Corsair is the one who bought Elgato. They could have stomped their feet when Companion and all these other third-party integrations started to come out that weren't using the Stream Deck specific software, and said, no, you have to use this, we're going to lock you out. But then you look at their marketing material, and you can see right there's Companion buttons on the marketing material for the Stream Deck. So good for them for leaning in. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, What studio desk manufacturers with pull-out musical keyboard trays do the panel prefer? I've been looking at a Zaor Miza M Flex.
Alexander?
Okay, yeah, that is one company that makes Zaor makes really good stuff, expensive. Also, another expensive option is this company. This is Argosy. They make a lot of different types of desks in different configurations. They can be customized. They come in different configurations as well. Let me just show you some other options too. The other $5,000+ is a lot of money for a desk. Maybe if you're a professional studio. But the average person, that's a lot of money. I went the cheaper route, and this is a newer company that I discovered a couple of years back called Glorious, and I bought this exact desk not in the walnut finish in black, but it comes in different finishes, and they have different versions of this type of desk with a 3U rack space here. It's got lots of cable management, which I really like too. It's got plenty of holes where you can drop wires through, and it's got a tray at the back where you can have cabling and stuff like that. It does have the keyboard tray as well. It's really solid. I'm using this desk right now, and honestly, even if I bang my fist on it, nothing shakes. It's really, really solid for a sub $1,000 desk. So this is the one that I've been recommending to people, and I think part of what also helps it become stable too is this kind of the way that they did the legs on the desk, this kind of X shape. So everything's really well balanced. It's got the brace at the back there, so everything seems super solid. So I'm quite happy with this desk. I wish there was a little more room. I find this section, let me blow this up. This section right here, I find is a little narrow, so you cannot put a big console. It barely has room to put my Yamaha DM3 console on there. So just be aware, take measurements, know what you're getting into when you buy this type of desk. Here's an example of it with stuff on it. You can see what it looks like there. So there's another option.
Somebody's got
there.
like a 49 key or a 61 key.
Yeah.
You're not putting a full 88 under there.
You might be able to. You might be. I thought I read somewhere you can put a full size. I would double check that.
Jeffrey?
So I'm not a big fan of those types of desks because they're all basically one size tries to fit all type situation, and being able to, because I in college they actually set up one of the first computer MIDI systems when I went, and they had these really nice desks, and yeah, of course the keyboards then pull out so you can play on them from there, but with the stress from that, eventually they start to wear and tear, and then you just start to feel the wobble on the desk. Plus, like I said, you can't do any type of height adjustment on it. So if you're a taller person, or if you want to stand up and play keyboard rather than sit down and play keyboard, you have no real adjustment for that. You have to deal with what they've got there, and sometimes it's not a great ergonomic fit in those cases. So I try to keep the desk separate from the keyboard itself so I can move it around to what I need to, especially if different people come in to be playing this keyboard.
Mickey?
Yeah, I was going to mention as well with the company that Alexander mentioned earlier, Argosy. They make fantastic desks. I've had a couple of them in my past studios, my past facilities. I had a bunch of Argosy desks that were specifically designed for, back then, Control 24 desk from DigiDesign, as well as the Icon desks. And you can have them customized to your needs. But for the past two facilities I've built for myself, including this one, I've gone with fully custom-made desks, made very specific to my liking. They end up about a third or a quarter of the price of similar Argosy desks. They're made of tubular steel and mahogany. It takes 6 people to carry them. They were very solidly built. And again, like, I spent a fraction of what I spent on the Argosy desks.
We've got evening shows for you to watch as well as our morning shows. Live or later, we've got extra hours on Mondays, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then tomorrow night, the rundown is on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Pacific as well. Next question.
Up next is Peter Moore in Auckland, New Zealand, asking, Fender, the guitar company, released Fender Studio last week. It even runs on Linux. Given that they bought PreSonus a while back, I find this interesting. Thoughts? Details and DL info at the bottom of a link.
Sorry, Jeff.
I find it interesting. So it looks, especially on mobile, eerily similar to GarageBand. Although I think, it's cool, especially they do have it for every platform, basically, but they're showcasing it on mobile. When there's a free app, you always wonder what's the catch. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. It's got a lot of really cool things that are, unique to them. They're not clear about plugins. It comes with a handful. They're not clear about, at least I haven't seen yet, third-party plugins. 8 tracks to start with, a bunch more if you register. So start with registering your account, then you get some more goodies. And then, of course, we see, well, wait a minute, you can plug it in if you buy our device here, which looks similar to the iRig, but cool. And by the way, there's plenty of people that don't have computers where their mobile is their only device. I think this is super awesome for them. They show you this. And then, yes, they have a Mac desktop app. And then, of course, that doesn't really look like Studio One, but of course down here they say, well, if you want to get serious, check out Studio One Pro. But to their credit, here's the Mac App Store version of it. They do seem to support a bunch of platforms. So it's free. You may be limited, likely are limited, to how far you can grow, but it's free and it looks pretty cool.
Alexander?
Fender's been doing some really good stuff. I actually support the acquisition of PreSonus, and PreSonus is releasing new products all the time. They've revised a bunch of their product lines, the Quantum stuff. So I think, if they have the financial backing of Fender and they can continue to do what they are doing, putting out great products, I always think that's a really good thing. As far as Fender is concerned, I think they have some really cool services, great guitar training tutorials. The app that we're talking about too, I haven't actually used it, but I do have to say that the interface on this app looks really cool for a multi-track recording app on a phone. Like, to me, the interface on this feels like what GarageBand really should be. I just find GarageBand's interface a bit clunky. It comes bundled with a lot of guitar emulators and typical Fender guitar tones that you would expect with a built-in. I think there's a tuner app in there somewhere as well. So I'll have to check it out. But I think they're doing really good stuff.
Jeffrey?
Well, I've actually was part of their beta or whatever testing group, and I definitely have it on the phone here. So yeah, you can put it on your phone, your Android phone, your tablet, Mac and PC, and I never did Linux. So the basic thing here is they have these, here's the you can bring in any type of session simply like that. And then, of course, you can record from there. You plug in the interface and you can go guitar, drums, whatever. But the other two things that they have an instant record. It's kind of like, just a standard recorder. So if you're in the car and going, oh, geez, I got this riff in my head and I want to record it, boom, you can hit it there, and then it can then incorporate that into into whatever system that you have, whatever multi-track that you set up for it, and then of course you can edit it and you can run around. The other thing is this jam thing. This is really cool. So if you're a guitarist that really needs to do some practicing, then they've got a whole bunch of songs here that you could just sit and you, like, I loaded up this one, and I won't play it, but it should go to a multi-track so you can move things around if you want to, but then you can jam to that whenever you're trying to practice from there. So little pros and cons. I do like the app. I think that you talked about GarageBand. I think GarageBand's been a little bit more cultivated. So it works. I think it works a little bit better. GarageBand works a little bit better than this app. It just needs a little bit of time to get some more tweaks out of it, because you have plugins? That. You have. I'm sorry.
Does it support third-party plugins?
Not that I've tried. And I've actually tried to bring in like IK multimedia stuff into there, but if you bring it in before you bring it in analog into the system, of course, then it shows from there. But it just needs a little bit more time. Right now you have, like I said, GarageBand. IK Multimedia has multi-tracking software, and there's other ones out there that have been around for a while. So they have a lot to compete with. But the best part is I like the little box that they gave me for all the stuff, because they gave me headphones and their little interface and everything like that.
You can ask questions 24/7 at askofficehours.global. That's askofficehours.global. It's fast and easy. There's nothing to sign into, nothing to sign up for. Just go to askofficehours.global, put in your name, put in your question. We'll work it in over the next couple days. Next question.
This question's from me, Cindy Drozda in Erie, Colorado. What are the advantages of the paid version of ChatGPT?
Courtney.
Well, I don't use ChatGPT, but there are several differences. You get less limits, more speed, access to GPT 4.0, little o, and it has this feature called GPT Research, or Deep Research, which is a much more complex research and analysis. It goes out with agents and pulls in several examples of whatever you're trying to research and presents them along with pictures, which most other large language models don't pull in, pictures from the articles that it finds and references to those articles. So if you're doing deep research where you're using it for trying to find out factual stuff rather than it just making up stuff, hallucinating stuff, then you get more detailed research with the paid version than you do with the free version. You're also limited in the number of voice responses, voice usage you can use with the free version. The paid version, you have advanced voice models. And advanced voice mode, which supports things like being able to interrupt it when it's answering. You're in voice mode. It can get annoying when you're talking to it and it's talking back and it's going the wrong direction. You want to interrupt it. The paid model, you can interrupt it. It also it analyzes your voice and can tell if you're angry with it. So if you speak angrily to the pro model, it can react. You can hurt its feelings. So that's one important difference. Whether it's worth the $20 a month to you, that's for you to determine. I use Copilot, which incorporates a lot of the same underpinnings of GPT-3, since Microsoft owns a portion of OpenAI.
As you keep moving through the model or the different pricing model, the things that you want to look at specifically are: do you need the GPT 4.1 for coding, or the preview of the 4.5 model that you're trying to play around with? If it's not one of those two things, or you're not really jonesing for that advanced voice mode, you're going to know whether or not it makes sense to upgrade to ChatGPT Plus, because you're going to hit limits on ChatGPT Free. Almost all of the things that you're getting with Plus are just, they're giving you more credits or more tokens or what. I don't know how they measure it, because whenever I hit the wall, I can't figure out how I got there. But if you're constantly hitting the wall with GPT Free, then you're probably good to go up to Plus. If you're in GPT Plus and you're still hitting limits and you want more credits for Sora, or you want to be able to upload larger files to have it do data analysis, and you hit the limits of that, then you go up to Pro, and GPT Pro is that one that's $200 a month. Now, the other thing that you'll see on the ChatGPT pricing page is below those models, there's a team model and an enterprise model. So if you're running a team with multiple people and want to be able to share custom GPTs between one another, that $25 a month per user for the team is actually pretty attractive. You also get higher message limits on 4.0 and things like that. There is also enterprise, which they say contact sales, which means it's really expensive. I'll save you the phone call. If you have fewer than 150 users, it makes sense to be on ChatGPT team. The last warning, David Brady says, from the Department of Redundancy Department. If you want to look up the definition of redundant in the dictionary, you open up, it says C redundant. But sorry. With the GPT Enterprise or GPT Teams, you can't upgrade to GPT Pro the $200 a month one, if you're on one of those plans. They have zero support for it right now. It's very frustrating. The only guidance that I was given when I wanted to upgrade to GPT Pro was wait until your annual agreement expires. And then once it downgrades to free, then you can upgrade to Pro. Very frustrating. Go ahead, Jeff.
It is funny. I'm jumping in because of, Cindy, your question in the chat. Do you get less wrong answers if you pay? Now, on the surface, that, of course, shouldn't be the case. But this is where it gets tricky. And this is where I think it can get confusing for the average folks that want to play around with this when you start talking about all the different models. So because you get more time, more access to the more advanced or newer models, I mean, theoretically, you could get better or more accurate answers, especially with the deep research with the paid. But so that's where it does get tricky. I will also say, this is not commonly known. If you're on Mac, you can, even with a free account, you can log in to your ChatGPT account in Mac OS settings so that you're logged into your account for whatever that's worth. And then, of course, that also applies if you do pay. Now, when you use the writing tools, and that's about all I say the advantage of the integration is so far in Mac but and iOS. But if you use the writing tools, now you have the benefits of the advanced models with your paid account in native Mac OS writing tools and everything else, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the deep research, if you're still unclear on what that is, the deep research is where you're giving it a more complex question, and then it might chew on it for 5 or 10 or 20 minutes and go out to the internet and grab 10, 15, 20 sources, look at those, synthesize some information that's cited that then you can go and confirm. But the limits are pretty strict on that, where you'll get, I forget exactly what it is, but if you keep beating on an O1 or on a deep research, after I think it's 30 messages, it'll say, hey, we're going to put you on pause for the week or the month. And that's where that Pro really starts to come in. The other place where Pro really starts to come in is if you get addicted to using the voice mode, which I'll do sometimes when I'm driving. Like if I have an hour drive to work, I'll talk on the way in about some things I've been thinking out. At about an hour, it says, hey, you're going to hit your limit. And that's why I want it, because it's like having a really smart friend. Next question.
Guy Cochran in Seattle, Washington asks the panel, how are you using Dante?
Alexander?
Well, for me in my workflow, it starts with the clock leader. So I'm using a Yamaha DM3D, and this is a 16 by 16 Dante interface. I have various computers that are that have Dante virtual sound card that are running audio. Like how I'm getting audio into Zoom is with Dante virtual sound card, and I have other computers that also have DVS as well. The cool thing about DVS is you can buy the one license per computer thing, and you're getting a 64 by 64 channel interface for under $100, which is pretty incredible value for money, in my opinion. And so that's what I'm using. More complicated ways to run audio. One of the things that I wanted to do recently with my live stream was actually use my console to process the audio. So I use Mimo Live to do all of my productions over Zoom. And so what I have is I have ISO audio feeds coming out of Mimo Live, going out over Dante that goes into my Yamaha. So each participant comes into a channel on my console. Then that way I can do any additional processing that I want. And that goes to a couple of different mix buses for additional layers. I have multiple layers of compression and limiting, and then that comes out of audio matrix, and that goes back in as a stereo channel into Mimo Live, which is Dante, and then that goes out to the live stream. So it took a little bit to get that all working, make sure everything's routed properly. But once you kind of wrap your head around Dante, it's pretty awesome.
Mickey?
Yeah, Dante certainly shows up in a lot of the different types of work that I do. In location sound, the 820 Nexus wireless microphone receiver that we use, those units have Dante out, actually Dante in and out. So I can send Dante into my Sound Devices 8 series recorders, and be able to remote the receiver closer to set while I stay a little closer to Video Village, a little closer to the director, and I can receive nice and clean digital audio with a really long run of cable, Ethernet cable or fiber, because the A20 Nexus does have an SFP slot in it, and have that live closer to set where it's closer to the transmitters. Less issues to deal with in terms of RF reception. And because the A20 Nexus also has analog audio outputs, I can send IFB transmitter feeds going to the Nexus that's closer to the set and have my IFB transmitter on set as well. That really makes it a lot quicker and easier to set up a sound card build for like a narrative shoot. Here in my studios, we utilize Dante in several ways. I think the heaviest use of Dante for us here is we're able to send audio from our audio interfaces, which are the Avid Matrix and Matrix 2 boxes, and send feeds from our Pro Tools rig to our Dolby Atmos renderers through Dante, and as well get signals back from the renderers back into the Pro Tools rig again through Dante, and then into the HDX cards. That way we don't have to deal with having a single box that runs both the renderer and all that, and also not having to, because in the past people were utilizing multiple MADI connections for this to connect up a render, and much earlier on a lot of AS3 connections. Now with Dante, a single Ethernet cable could get all the 128 channels, or technically 129 channels, into the renderer and back out. All our booths also have Dante connections in there, as well as our preamps and our racks have Dante, are feeding Dante A to D converters, so that any of our rooms, our mixing rooms, can feed any of our other mixing rooms in terms of microphones from the booth and also monitors going back to the booth. So we can do isolated recordings of, like, say, multiple musicians at the same time, or multiple dubbing artists at the same time in their own rooms, and route that all digitally, which is fantastic.
You know, you can hang out with Office Hours on the weekends, too. There's one catch. It's live only. So I kind of call it our members-only show. But Saturday's another Q&A show. Sunday's more of an introspective day. It's a fun, when we chew on things a little bit more. We talk about Office Hours, talk about the industry. But you got to be in Makana to see those. So go to officehours.global/join and hang out with us on the weekends. Mickey, you had one more thing?
Yeah, I should have added as well that in the broadcast work that we do, at times, we have thousands of Dante channels flying around the network when you're doing large productions, especially immersive or surround sound productions. In larger, like, global events, especially global sporting events, we have thousands upon thousands of Dante channels. Like, even just commentary, all the commentators from across the globe, even those not including like your FX mics, add up to thousands of channels there of AV over IP. Not always Dante, but sometimes other protocols are used as well. But being able to, like, with a single duplex fiber, carry just so many channels is a game changer.
Next question.
Next one comes to us from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. I have Stream Decks side by side on my Beelink and my Mac. Will the new Elgato dock allow me to use devices connected to my PC on my Mac M1 and vice versa?
Jeffrey, what do you think?
So you're probably talking about that
Oops, sorry.
PoE to that's okay. Yeah, so you're probably talking about that PoE to USB connection, which won't be out till a little bit later. So I I don't think there's a way to actually do it right now, but I have a feeling once that device comes out, there's going to be an update to the software that will give you the ability to control multiples. There are ways to do it without that adapter. First of all, there's putting software on, like with Companion. You use what we used to use was a program called Viscero, and some people still use it, which would then send hotkey commands to the other computer to control it. Apps inside, like for instance, vMix has a great one because it has a remote control, so I could have it plugged in. Because I did this. I had my main computer in another room to keep the volume down from fans, and then I had another smaller computer in studio, and then I had the Stream Deck attached to it, and I used the vMix commands that would send a command over the network and then run that computer from my Stream Deck. Some people use a KVM. I don't recommend that because depending on the KVM you get, it definitely sends power. And when you go to switch from one device to the other, if that power is jolting, you might lose the LCD screen or the unit altogether. So I don't recommend that unless you have like 50 Stream Decks sitting on the side ready to replace that one deck. But yeah, once that dock comes out, and yeah, other people use Raspberry Pis. You put Stream Deck on the Pi, and then you can use that remotely. The phone is another way to do it, but the bottom line is, once that deck comes out, we're going to see a couple other additional options inside the store that you can put onto your Stream Deck, so you can remotely control it from almost any PC that you need to.
Go ahead, Jeff Cohen.
Right, this time. So I don't think, at least natively, the way they're describing it, you'll be able to do that. And it doesn't seem like that's their intent. I mean, their intent very clearly from what they're showing is that it seems like it's a one or the other thing. You can, of course, plug it into the USB, but if you want to put it on the network like this, the telltale sign to me is that you have to configure it with the IP address. So that's going to likely be the machine that it's looking for that is, running the Stream Deck software. So at least out of the box, I don't think it's an easy switch back and forth. A USB switch, is potentially one way to do that, like Jeffrey was talking about with the risks, but that's one way if you need to be able to, switch which computers one or more of those physical Stream Decks are talking to. But also, as Jeffrey mentioned, I also use the software version as well, and that's pretty cool and pretty flexible.
Mickey?
So yeah, this network dock simply provides you a different means of connecting a Stream Deck to a computer. So you would still need to run either the native Stream Deck application or Companion or buttons on a computer, tie that Stream Deck to that computer in order for it to get running. And the same principle applies in terms of what it can control. If there is a piece of hardware connected to a different computer that is IP controllable and does have some sort of module or plugin that is compatible with Companion or Stream Deck, but the Stream Deck applications or buttons from BitFocus, then yeah, you can control those. But it's essentially just a different way to connect the Stream Deck to your computer.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. As Jeff mentioned, there probably will be a host computer that you'll have to initially connect it to. But I still think that they're going to come out with a plugin that will allow you to control another computer from that one. So basically, it'd be Stream Deck to that PC to other PC or Mac or whatever, and then be able to control it that way.
Now, if you're following the instructions on their website, setting up this dongle, just make sure, even though it's what they put in their image, if you put in 192.168.1.1, you might get your router. So just be careful with that. Next question.
Peter Moore in Auckland, New Zealand asks, I had to rebuild my Windows 10 install, long story, and reinstall everything, including the Elgato Stream Deck software. I went to install the OBS plugins from the marketplace, but now I have to have an account. Why? When did this happen?
Jeffrey?
It started happening about a year ago, and the reason why is simply security. You got to remember that Stream Deck is an open piece of hardware using software that anybody can create an app or something and load it onto the Stream Deck. So in order for them to kind of give people peace of mind, you're going to have their store, and inside their store you have to register for the account so you can download from there. If you sideload, let's say somebody says, hey, I got this OBS plugin that works better, you just have to sideload it in, and then all of a sudden they're sideloading malware into your Stream Deck, then you have a problem. So this becomes a trusted source, and if you don't get it from the trusted source, then the Stream Deck can say, well, that's your problem, not our problem, because you didn't go through the regular channels to get this software.
Courtney?
Yeah, I've noticed, depends on which version of Windows 10 that you have. 22H2, I think, is the last supported version that they're going to support that runs on 32-bit and 64-bit computers. I have a similar problem. And after installing Windows 10 22H2, it tries to force you into having a Microsoft account. If you had a local account on that PC in the past, which means you don't have to log into your Windows account to launch it every time. Whenever it updates, it's going to ask, it goes into this little, it locks you into this little thing, the Windows experience that you have to work your way through, and it almost forces you to log into your Windows account, because they want to track you and everything you do. I did find a way to turn this off, and if that will help you, you might look at this. You go into your system, you go to notifications, and then you go down to all your notifications, which I have, turned off, and then you go to the additional settings, and right here is a little checkbox that says, show the Windows welcome experience after updates and when signed in. To show the users what's new and suggested. Uncheck that box, and you won't get that annoying trapped modal window that pops up and won't let you out of that until you fill in all the blanks and sign up for your user and sign in with your user account, because they really want to track you. And I have hundreds of Windows PCs, and they're all on local accounts. And only when I want to download something from the store, I'll have to log in with my Windows account, download the thing, and then log back out of my Windows account to go back to my local account. So that's one workaround. But you will have to have a Windows account to access the store from here on.
The other thing I'd take a look at, if you're setting up a new PC and you're trying to not get locked into the Microsoft account, I think it's you hit Control F10 or Alt F10 or something like that during the out-of-box experience, and you can type in a command into that terminal that comes up that removes that requirement. And I'm not sure if you want to quite go that far as to wipe the whole machine, but just remember that there is a terminal that you can get into at original startup for those. If you're finding office hours valuable, there are a couple ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our channel, of course, and you can also volunteer. We have a lot of awesome volunteers who help keep the show running. We've got opportunities there at officehours.global/volunteer. And finally, you can help us out financially by going to officehours.global/donate. Helps us keep the show running, and we really appreciate it. Just head over to officehours.global/donate, and we thank you for the support. Next question.
Here's one from Tony Mobley in Noonan. I was considering playing music on TikTok. I don't have a DJ mixer. I just have the ATEM connected to a couple of computers where I would play music. Do I need another mixing device, or should that be good enough? Suggestions, please.
Alexander?
Well, I mean, if you're sending audio out of a laptop into an ATEM, yes, you can do that. Of course, just keep in mind that the ATEM's audio... the analog to digital converters and the D to A's, they're not fantastic. They're pretty bad, to be honest with you. So just be careful about the levels that you're sending in. You're dealing with consumer, unbalanced audio coming into the ATEM. So just watch everything. Make sure you give yourself lots of headroom. So if you go to the Fairlight mixer, Tony, just make sure that you're keeping your audio levels well below 0 dBFS. Try to give yourself at least 12 dB of headroom. If you look at the audio meters, you will see markings on there. So as long as you give yourself lots of headroom, yes, that will work.
Mickey?
Yeah, I'm curious, Tony, what exactly you're looking to do. Like, do you just want to straight out play music to TikTok, or are you thinking of using music as a background for you, like background music for where you speak on top of it? Um, the If you just want to play music out, I think of course there are copyright concerns there. I'm not sure if TikTok polices any of that, but I wouldn't attempt it. But if you still want to push through with it, I think my primary concern would be control for you. Like, how do you, very easily adjust your levels? You don't have any physical control of it aside from, like, say, if you're bringing in audio, because if you connect your computer, you can bring in audio into the ATEM using the HDMI inputs, and that would be a cleaner path as opposed to using the analog 3.5 mil inputs on it. But your only means of physical control for that are those tiny buttons on the ATEM, which I believe each press, I think, adjusts by 3 dB up and down. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I definitely do not use that. I would suggest perhaps considering, if you do want to do the mixing of multiple sources on the ATEM, perhaps consider getting a MIDI controller that gives you fader controls. You can very smoothly and accurately ride those levels as you go from song to song. Or if you're playing a song, then you want to speak on top of it, you can very nicely fade it down smoothly, and then you can speak, and then after you speak, fade the music back up. My other concern as well is, if you do have multiple sources, multiple computers, how do you cleanly transition between song to song? I don't know if you want to attempt trying to do like a nice crossfade between them, or you mentioned DJ mixer. Like, are you trying to do some beat matching so that the tempos line up and the beats match up? Those are things I would think through as you go through this process of figuring out how you want to execute this.
Jeffrey?
So Tony said it's for house of worship music. Here's the deal with TikTok. TikTok has an approved list of copyright of music that you can play without too many problems on there. You can also do your royalty-free music. You can also do your music. AI music, I believe, is also in all of that. If you play a copyrighted song that is not on the approved TikTok list, you have 60 seconds to go through that song. If you play 61 seconds of that song, you risk your channel being locked out or possibly even suspended and deleted. Another thing to consider is your source of where you're getting the music. Like, for instance, if I was to plug in my iPhone into the ATEM and use Apple Music to do my music, and I'm using the approved list, I'm still violating Apple's terms, because Apple's terms for Apple Music is non-commercial. And even though you're going through TikTok and you're probably not getting paid for it, you're using it through a different source, and there's a possibility that you could get your Apple Music channel banned. So keep that in mind if you're doing that. You've probably got a list of house of worship songs. Just run them through the list of what's TikTok. Most likely all of them are going to be good. And then use the ways that everybody was talking about to make sure that to bring that in. And yeah, I definitely would have an audio device with faders, as Mickey mentioned, to control the music, because no two songs are ever the same volume.
Let's sneak in one more question.
Greg Stovall is up next. Preacher here. Hate over-the-air mics. Got a Countryman B6 and hid it in my collar. Feedback is that it sounds muffled. Moved it to my glasses. Big improvement. Is there a standard for something like this?
Alexander?
Mic placement matters. I mean, you've taken a microphone and you've hidden it under a thick layer of clothing. So yes, it's going to sound. Now, the curious thing that I'd like to know is whether or not, is it just that the high end is dulled, or does it really, really sound muffled? If it's just the high end that's dull, a lot of high end lav mics have replaceable capsules where you can actually boost the high end to compensate for a loss. This is done on a lot of sets where they're miking up actors in film. If they have to put it under clothing, they'll have to you'll have to compensate for the loss of high end. If it sounds muffled, then you just need to move the microphone. And I don't understand why you don't want to have it visible. You're preaching, so I mean, it doesn't really matter if people see a lav on a caller. No one's really going to care about that. So I'd much rather have good audio quality and have it in a better place than have it hidden and have it sound worse.
Mickey?
Yeah, Alex mentioned the replaceable caps. This is a Countryman, and it comes with a bunch of caps that you can replace it to very slightly change its frequency response for a bit more high frequency emphasis. But yeah, I would 100% agree with what Alexander mentioned. Like, what's your priority here? Is your priority putting your message out, or or wearing not wearing a microphone that is that for you feels uncomfortable? I think rather get the job done and put on a headset for however long you do your preaching. And that is indeed one of the standards, to have a microphone close to your mouth, get better signal to noise ratio, and get better higher gain before feedback if you're working in an environment that has sound reinforcement in it. So yeah, I would, if specifically the whatever headset mic you were using previously wasn't comfortable for you, perhaps go to a vendor in the US. I don't know, Musician's Friend, Guitar Center, where they might have a bunch of headset microphones that you can try out, see what feels best for you, and go and use that. Again, as Alexander mentioned, mic placement is key for that. If you really don't want to wear a headset mic, go to a lavalier that's clipped on, visible on your shirt. If you're working in an environment that has sound reinforcement, you may want to go with a directional lavalier, a cardioid lavalier, as opposed to an Omni. The B6 that you mentioned is Omni. So again, because it's Omni, it's picking up sound from everywhere. That means you get a little bit higher noise floor and a lot less gain before feedback. So get the lavalier, just clip it on, have it seen. There's no reason that you need to have it concealed. You're not doing a narrative anyway. And yeah, one thing I should mention as well, Countryman B6, I have a good number of them. The Countryman B6 is attractive because of their size, so it's very, very easy to conceal or even hide in plain sight. It's not the most, to my ears, and they're not the best sounding labs out there, but when I need a problem solver, a really tiny mic, that's what I go for.
And Greg does mention in the chat that the high end being dulled is the feedback that he's getting. He's already replaced the cap and hiding it in the collar. The mic is still exposed. He's just concerned about hiding the cable. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, and another thing to remember, there's sound is like light. It travels in a straight line, and it observes the inverse square law. So the further away it gets, it drops off logarithmically. So the closer, the higher the signal to noise ratio. So your signal is your voice. But remember, if it's down on your collar, you're in the shadow of your chin, like light. A picture light coming out of your mouth, which is the sound, and it goes out, it radiates out like this. And if it's under your chin, under your collar, it's in the shadow of your chin, which is going to cause the higher frequencies, which don't propagate as much, to be attenuated. So that's why it's going to sound muffled. This is why I hate people who hide the lavalier in a tie that is right up in the knot of a tie, right up under the chin. The shadow of the chin will dull it. And so that's one reason. Putting it out on your glasses puts it out closer into the field where the high frequencies can hit the microphone. So just bear that in mind. Placement and a lav placement is better because it gets out from underneath the shadow of the chin.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you very much to our panel coming in on a Wednesday morning, spending an hour so we can all get smarter thanks to that life experience. We really do appreciate it. Also, thank you to our producers for asking such great questions. Sometimes stuff comes out of left field and it makes us think about things in a different way. And I always feel like my mind's expanding thanks to the stuff that you all bring. And finally, a huge thank you to our back-end crew working not only during the show, but also around the show, keeping us organized, keeping us looking and sounding good moving forward. I can't do it without you. If we would have had to go around in person today, the Tlaloc Traversal would have taken us 30,000 miles. That's 48,000 kilometers, 234 million bananas for scale. We'll see you in after hours. I keep forgetting to bring down the real banana.
I'm being followed by a Gen Shadow.
I got somebody on the weekend, I think, suggested that we take cigar cutters and we'll brand them as banana openers. We'll be ready to go. Get a little triangle right there. It'll
That
be
was
perfect.
me. Have a good one.
Appreciate it, everyone.
I always open my banana from the other end.
Or the end that doesn't have the little stalk on it, right?
Exactly. It's a lot
That's what
easier.
the monkeys do.
I have my pet panda appeal.
I'm a monkey. I'm a monkey.
Man. You know, we need to tell Adam Tao that he needs to build some automation in, because he has actually a decent auto mixer for that, or not auto mixer, a decent mixing